Hello, everybody. Gbenga Olatunji FCA here, looking at and introducing to ourselves strategic financial management. Usually we call it SFM. So this is a new course and a new subject on GGM's associate platform. Henceforth, you'll be having strategic financial management resources on this platform free of charge for educational purposes and furtherance of our career. Without wasting time, we have a lot to deal with on SFM as we introduce it to us, and at the end of this video we'll be looking at how to study and pass SFM at first sitting or first attempt. SFM is a course that many times and oftentimes people are a bit afraid of, but the truth of the matter is there's nothing to be afraid of in SFM or in any other course. People have passed it, people wrote the book about it and the course, the syllabus, so definitely if they can, you can. So what are we going to be looking at as we introduce ourselves to SFM? First of all, we need to know the aim and purposes of strategic financial management. Why do we have to study SFM? We'll be answering that. We'll be looking at the linkages and subjects that we need to be strong in or at for us to pass successfully SFM. Main competencies that underline SFM and that SFM offers will be looked at. The breakdown of the SFM syllabus will be looked at. Then we go into the topicals, that is the topics in SFM syllabus. Then we break it down into detailed topics that are in the syllabus. Then we wrap it up by discussing how to pass SFM at first sitting. We had loved, and it's important to us that you subscribe to the channel so that we can reach more people, and as you do that you encourage us equally to do more and upload more. So please, if you are just joining us, go and subscribe. We appreciate you. If you are return viewers and you've been with us several times, also if you are yet to subscribe, go and subscribe as we continue in SFM. So we've quickly run through what we should be expecting in this video: the aims and purposes, the linkages, main competencies, the breakdown of the syllabus, topics, detailed breakdown of the topics, and how to be successful in SFM as a course. Now, what is the aim and why are we studying SFM? Basically, SFM is preparing us to be able to support management to take informed decision, and we can only support making informed decision when we have relevant knowledge and skill, relevant information, relevant processing of relevant information, and exercise professional judgments. And these and a lot more are what SFM will be offering us at this stage. And and in preparing us to become business managers, analysts, and the like. So must be able to recognize areas in which business in particular could be financed, and financial risk attached to them, dividend decision, investment decision, and a lot more we must be able to handle. And SFM has come to give us and help us with this. What are the subjects that we need to be strong at if we are to be strong at SFM? Being strong in our management information, which at this stage we must have passed, is an added advantage to us. Also, PM, performance management. We need to be good at performance management because elements of performance management abound in SFM, strategic financial management. Also, we need to be strong at business management and finance. Don't forget that even with the name, we know that the business management and finance will be related to financial management, strategic financial management. CSME also is important and fits directly into strategic financial management. So we need to be strong at corporate strategic management and ethics. And please don't forget all that we've learned from SFM. Also, case study. Case study must be able to analyze and digest instructions and scenarios and be able to meticulously apply the information learned for decision making. So these are the base for strategic financial management. Main competencies that SFM will offer us at the end of us learning strategic financial management. We should be able to value business, appraise investments alternatives, and this we will always need for the rest of our business life and career progression. Ability to do this. Also must be able to assess very well and advise on decision making. Must be able to source out funds and know the sources of finance for our business survival and even as business managers. Also, assessment and planning alternative business growth, business strategy, corporate reorganization, corporate restructuring, and the like. It is important, and this is another main competence that says SFM offers. Also, must be able to evaluate and apply alternative treasury and risk management techniques. We are risk managers. Don't forget we dealt with aspects of risk management too, not quite long, and you can check them up, those videos that relates to risk management. So these are the main competencies that SFM offers. Basically, must be able to evaluate the impact of financial management on corporate performance of our organization. The major breakdown of SFM as a course basically is broken into 5 parts. SFM is broken into 5 parts, and we'll be talking about financial environment and the role of finance manager and money market institution, and it carries the weight of 15 in the syllabus. Also, business analysis, which carries 30%. And we'll be looking at the detail and the topics under each breakdown now. The C part of our syllabus is about financing decision making. The D part talks about mergers and acquisitions, organic growth of corporate organization, and corporate organization restructuring. This has 15 weights in our syllabus. Last but not the least is the management of financial risk, and this is equally very important to us because on daily basis in our career we will encounter risk. We cannot avoid it, we can only manage it. So next that we will be looking at will be the topics under SFM. Topics under SFM is what we will be looking at. We have 31 major topics that SFM has brought to bear, and primarily they are for the purpose of organized study. They are arranged in a way that you will go through it sequentially. We will be building up momentum and accelerate our remembrance of the topics, and is advised, which we are going to do more when we are studying how to pass, when we are discussing how to pass at first attempt. It is good that we study sequentially and not haphazardly. So as much as it lies within your power, and for the purpose of this channel, we are going to be sequential in learning SFM. That's like do what you preach. So the first topic is about introducing ourselves to strategic financial management, in which we are doing now, learning the topics under it, what we need to cover, the details of it, the expectation of the institute, and how we can successfully pass it. So we are introducing ourselves to it. Then the regulatory background of SFM. The regulatory background of SFM will be studied. Major regulators in finance world and their functions. And of course, if you are listening to us from other nations, the peculiarity of your nation will be the regulatory background of your strategic financial management, and every other topic remain the same, but your regulator, their name will be different even though they will function alike. The third will be the financial management environment. The financial management environment, and we all agree, you will agree with me that the financial management environment could be micro and could be macro. We need to look within, we need to look without. The next topic, we are going to deal with all these topics in a major video. So we are just introducing ourselves. So please don't let us bother ourselves with more details. Now I know there are more expectation, and we are going, by the grace of God, to fulfill the expectation. We are here to ensure that everybody is successful, including ourselves. Then we'll talk about discounted cash flow. It's another expected topic we need to learn and understand very well to pass SFM. Then the next one will be discounted cash flow as it relates to taxation and inflation. Inflation, taxation, discounting. Then we learn how to discount risk and uncertainty in our business. The seventh topic will be about discounted cash flow, specifically about specific applications in other areas, in other industries, which are peculiar. We know quite a few industries are coming up and they are equally new, like IT industry, which is coming on board with its peculiarity. The next topic will be on capital rationing. Usually in economics, we learn that resources are scarce and we must make judicious use of scarce resources. So, how to go about capital rationing is what we are going to learn there. And even when resources are not scarce, management entails proper administration and utilization, effective and efficient utilization of resources. So let's even not say resources are not scarce, but we must manage very well. So capital rationing is still relevant. Then we talk about cost of capital. Cost of capital. Even when you have your own money in your pocket and you are using it for your business, you still need this topic. There's still a cost that is attached to that your money, and as business managers, finance managers, we must always remember this. If not, inflation will overtake us in the game of business and we may not make enough money as we ought to make for ourselves and for our organization. You will overlook these aspects of business world. Then we move on to portfolio management, portfolio theory, capital asset pricing model. And after that, sources of finance. Now we are talking about the equity. That is those finance that we can generate within our power, relationship, friendship, family, and the like. We will go into details of sources of finance. Then we move on to sources of finance as it relates to debt. Don't forget, we talked about equity just now. Now we are talking about the debt form of finance, and basically these are the two categories of sources of finance. If it's not along the equity side, it's going to be indebted or indebtedness to somebody, one organization, one financial institution or the other. Then we move on to finance for small and medium enterprise. Usually we call them SMEs. SMEs. And they are so important to any nation all over the world because they actually contribute immensely to GDP. Name the country. SME we must not overlook to the extent that International Financial Reporting Standard has a whole standard for SME just to ensure that we understand how important this topic is to our world. Then we talk about Islamic finance. Islamic finance. Then we move on to dividend policy. Dividend policy must be looked at and understood. Then financing of projects. We are going to deal with a couple of projects along the ways, and how should we finance project properly will be looked at and understood before we can pass SFM. Next will be international valuation standard. International valuation standard. Then we move on to business valuation. And business valuation is so important to us. I come across this so many times in practice, and entrepreneur oftentimes puts cart before horse because of lack of knowledge about business valuation and sales of business. And as chartered accountants, as finance people, we should not fall victim of this or allow our organization in which we are in to fall victim of it. We should be able to guide. Next will be value-based management and modern business valuation techniques. Value-based management and modern business valuation techniques. Then we move on to mergers and acquisition. And mergers and acquisition always rock our world, and we need to understand it very well to be able to implement merger and acquisition processes. Then we move on to corporate restructuring and reorganization. Corporate restructuring and reorganization. All these topics are interlinked. Like when we spoke about business valuation, business valuation is critically directly relevant many times to corporate restructuring and reorganization. Then we move on to evaluating financial performance and position. We need to be able to evaluate our organization's finance and our current position and how we want to reposition. Then we move on to corporate failure. What makes organizations to fail, and how can we manage it? How can we manage ourselves not to fail? The next topic expected from us to understand is foreign exchange risk and currency risk management. Exchange risk and risk management about currency. Next topic that we need to understand is international investment decisions. International investment decisions, preparing us for life in multinational incorporations. Next is duration and yield curve. The yield curves and the duration. It's important for us to understand interest rate risk also, how to hedge using swaps, FRAs, and the host of others that we have not even mentioned. Then next topic will be about futures and hedging with futures, and there are a couple of them on the list which we are going to learn elaborately under this topic. Then hedging with options. What are options and the like? Options pricing and theory. That's the next topic, which is 38. And last but not the least that we must understand is emerging issues in our business world. Emerging issues in our business world. We must understand them very well to be able to be proactive in our business dealing and business leadership as strategic managers. Then and now, let us look at all those topics we've been talking about in detail. The expectation of the institute for us and concerning us. The part A of our syllabus is expecting us to understand some categories of topics and their breakdowns. So, under part A, we need to understand the financial environment and the role of managers. In broad language, financial environment and the role of finance manager and money market institution. Having the breakdown, the finance of financial environment and the role of financial managers, we need to understand it and be able to fit into the roles. Also, we need to understand the nature and the role of financial market and institution. And this topic is even critical for our success in interviews. What are our job roles? We are asked, why should we hire you? This knowledge will help us to debunk it. Financial environment and the role of financial managers. So basically, we need to understand this topic very well. We will look at it just in a snapshot so that it will not take much of our time because we still have a lot to deal with. As finance managers, we must be able to evaluate financial objectives within strategic planning process. Is key. We must be able to evaluate our financial objectives. Without this, we will fall victim of what in SFM is called mismatch of fund and the like, because financial objective is not adequately understood in planning process. Also, the nature and the role of money markets. We must understand it. The nature and the role of money markets. Do we just have all those stock exchange across the world because they must exist? What are their contributions? How can we key in into them? Pardon me. How can we key into their services for the benefit of our organization? So we need to be able to describe the role of money market for us to pass SFM. We need to be able to explain their functions, the function of the bank, the function of the financial institution, and how money markets operate. We need to be able to explain the characteristics of marketing instruments, money market instruments, financial market instruments, what are derivative products, how should we discount instruments, interest bearing instruments, and so many other that may be compounded for now. We need to be able to explain financial intermediaries. Who are they? Finance market and institution, the function of stock markets, corporate bonds. We need to be able to discuss ethical issues in strategic financial management. We need to be able to analyze and evaluate centralized and decentralized treasury management and their advantages and their disadvantages. Which organization should use, which organization should not use it. What is treasury managers? What is their role, or what are their roles? You must be able to assess and advise on agency theory. And this particular topic is broader in corporate strategic management and ethics. And you see how they are all interlinked. Those linkages topics, they are important. So the stronger you are in a particular course, that the stronger you will be in other higher topics or higher courses that feeds directly into or on the next course that you are offering. Let us move on to other detailed topics of within SFM. The part B of our syllabus envisions that we must be able to analyze businesses. It deals with business analysis, and under it we'll be discussing investment appraiser. For a business analyst, must be able to appraise investments and projects. We'll be looking at bond valuation and analysis, forecast and evaluate long-term financial performance and position of our business. We are expected to understand international valuation standards and also must be able to evaluate and assess the value of businesses and give advice based on business scenarios by determining the value of shares and the value of the business in a given scenario. And some other subtopics that we need to understand. Some of them are: we must be able to forecast, and in forecasting we must be able to forecast and build up our statement of profit or loss, statement of financial position, statement of cash flow. Investment appraiser must be able to evaluate the contribution of inflation, the contribution of taxation into our projection, into our appraisal, the probability and sensitivity analysis, the value of perfect and imperfect information, what risk adjustments are and how to discount it. However, economic value added, value-based management, option-based technique. These are some of the items that we need to know on the list as it relates to the part B of our syllabus. Then let us move on to the part C of our syllabus. This deals with financing decision in our business and in our career. Under it, we need to understand and know properly sources of finance, whether along the equity line or along the debt line. We need to understand and be able to estimate cost of capital. We need to know capital structure theories, also financing decision. And when we are talking about financing decision, other critical aspects of it must be looked at in details, as we can see. Let me broaden it so that we could see. Right issue, placement, public offer, stock exchange listing, and many more. These are some of the sources, and you will agree with me, these ones that we are talking about, they look like debt. We have equity financing too. Methods of raising short-term loan. Methods of raising long-term loan of finance, and specifically on the Islamic side of finance too. Estimating the cost of capital. We are going to learn weighted average cost of capital, and this particular one, when I was still studying as a student, weighted average cost of capital, I think I spent some little time on it before I understood it. That is just me, I'm just confessing. That does not necessarily will be your experience, and it should not be. Okay. Also, cost of fixed interest capital. Project specific cost of capital, business and financial risk, asset and equity beta. When we are talking about capital theory or capital structure theories, we'll be looking at Miller's model. We'll be talking about Modigliani. We need to understand Modigliani very well and his proposition. We need to understand pecking order theory, and basically we need to understand how to assess the traditional view of capital structure and its basic assumptions. Still on the C part of our syllabus, we need to understand portfolio theories and assets pricing models, finance for small and medium sized enterprise, which we usually call SMEs. We need to understand it very well, and we need to understand crowdfunding, the business angel investors, government assistance, grants, loan, and the like, and their differences. Supply chain finance, portfolio theory. We need to understand capital market line, the security market line, alpha value and its use. We need to be able to calculate beta factor and be able to evaluate it. We need to be able to understand multi-factor model. All this we will go into detail at the right time after this video. Next is part D of our syllabus, and these major on mergers and acquisitions, organic growth and corporate restructuring, which in our business world, as business continues to thrive, we cannot avoid it. So we need to prepare ourselves for mergers and acquisitions, organic growth, restructuring, and corporate reorganization. So under these topics, there are important subtopics like how to conduct due diligence during merger and acquisition, and many merger and acquisition failures as a result of due diligence. We need to understand the meaning of management buyout, management buy-in, and the like. Reasons for high failure rate of acquisition, we need to understand it. The use of reserve when we are talking reverse takeover, when we are talking about merger and acquisition. What are the defensive strategy that an organization can use in hostile takeover? I've seen and experienced hostile takeover. And for our organization not to fall victim of hostile takeover, we need to have strategies in place, and these are the things we'll be discussing under mergers and acquisition. The key part of our syllabus, Sfm-Strategic Management, Strategic Financial Management rather, we will be talking about management of financial risks. Management of financial risks. How should we manage financial risks? And what are financial risks? So, financial risks, we need to be able to assess them and advise on them. Different types of foreign currency risk, how to mitigate risk using interest rate swap, forward interest rate agreements, interest rate futures, and so many others. The traditional and the basic method of foreign currency risk management, like currency of invoicing, matching, leading and lagging, and so many host of them. We need to be able to assess and apply financial options in capitalization, and this will lead us to option sensitivities, to lead us to black screw option, pricing model, binomial options, pricing model, and so many others that we are going to go into details because of our time. Next, let us look at how to study SFM and pass SFM at first attempt. First and foremost, let us encourage ourselves and let ourselves be aware of one thing, that whatsoever we set our heart to accomplish, we always accomplish it. So if people have passed SFM, you too will pass, assuredly. Having said that, we need to understand that every subject, every profession even, has their basic strengths that underline the profession or the subject or course, as the case may be. So when we are talking about the linkages. Don't forget we started with this and we are ending with it because it's important. Not to create fear for us, especially if we are disadvantaged in one of the base subject or course underlining SFM, but to prepare us to buckle down on them. SFM relies on CSME knowledge, that is Corporate Strategic Management and Ethics, relies on Business Management and Finance, relies on Management Information as a course, it relies on Performance Management and ability to multi-understand, if I can use that word, as in case study. You need to be able to understand scenario and interpret and profile solution. We are good at all this. SFM strategic financial management should not be a problem. So, critically, don't neglect the linkages subjects. Having said that, you need to know yourself. Know yourself, and we cannot emphasize it enough. You need to understand your reading style, your reading power, your assimilation strength, when it's conducive for you to learn, when it's not conducive, wonder what atmosphere you need to study for the length of time that you easily assimilate. You may be a night person, you may be a morning reader, and even with that, at what stretch can you go? At what stretch can you go? Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about when we are talking about your reading style. Your reading style, you need to know it and don't get it mixed up with that of your friend, no matter how close you are. Your reading style, mine, a person that reads like a person that wants to go on a marathon, run a marathon. That is my reading style. And if we understand how the marathon race is, marathon requires endurance and reservation of strength. So I'm a type of person that if I need to write exams the next 3-6 months, I will have started reading 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages at a time at different dates. I don't assimilate a week, 2 weeks, or closer to examination. I cannot read. I don't assimilate again. So that is my reading style. And I'm more or less of a morning type. Anything to or after 12 in the midnight, I like to rest because my assimilation will be very, very low. You also should know yourself and don't get it mixed up. So having known your reading style, then you need to make adjustments of your lifestyle to accommodate your reading style. For example, you are a night reader, then you could put everything else you want to do in the morning, afternoon, so that you can have time for your night reading. And if you are a morning type, you may need to create more time to read in the morning and chef every other thing you need to attend to towards the night season. That is why when I said don't get it mixed up with that of your friend or neighbor, no matter how close, because our system, that is our body composition, are not the same, and we don't function alike. You can't be me in reading, I can't be you in reading, but all of us can read and understand if we know ourselves. So be strong as it comes to the basis of SFM, know your reading style, then practice past questions. Practice, practice, practice. Anything a month to, 3 months to, 3 weeks to rather, 2 weeks to, 1 week to your exam. 2 weeks to your exams, don't do readings again. All you should be doing is past questions, answering past questions, and if I will add anything to that, collaborative reading. And that leads us to another. Collaborate with friends. That you do not have reading style alike does not mean you cannot collaborate, because you never know what you don't know that they know until you mix with them, share idea, then you can understand. And this world now has gone virtual, so you can collaborate even virtually for convenience and the like. In whatsoever way that you could collaborate with others, so that you can learn one or two things and add it up to your strength. Practice past questions. Don't neglect past questions. Also, time management is a major factor in passing any exams, and specifically strategic financial management. People have failed. I had failed for not managing my exam time properly. So now we are not talking about not knowing the questions asked. We are talking about not being able to manage our times effectively. Allocation of time to our questions and answers. It is key that we should be able to manage time. And how can we have this knowledge? We need to practice time management. You would not practice with the mindset of time management, it becomes difficult in the exams. We cannot go into the exams and now become conscious of time management. It will only create anxiety, and anxiousness will make people fail. We all agree as to that. You must be anxious for nothing in the exams. Let your mind be at peace. Even when the question looks like you do not know, be anxious for nothing. Go and deal with those ones that you understand very well and save time. That is, do them and leave them there. Move on so that you can have more time to think about the seemingly difficult questions. But don't be anxious that immediately you look at them, it seems you cannot answer them. No, don't be anxious, please. Practice time management. From the goal, especially when we begin to practice past questions. Be time conscious. Time yourself. If I'm to answer 5 marks question, what is the allotted time? If I'm answering the whole course, which, let's say for example, is 3 hours paper, that is 180 minutes. 180 minutes, if you divide that, you can average it and get what's a mark on a question we give you. Usually I demonstrate this in the class, but I'm telling us now what to do. If you average it, you will get what a mark will give you per time. So to get a mark is equal to so seconds. So let's say to get a mark is equal to 1 minute. 1 minute is equal to one mark. You know assuredly then that if you spend 7 minutes on a 5-mark question, something may be wrong if you are not careful on other questions, because you are giving and spending more time than allotted or expected for you to pass the question. So if one mark is equal to 1 minute, then 5 minutes question, 5 minutes question should not be answered more than within 5 minutes. Anything above that is not too good. Anything below that is good for you. And that is why I said start with what you know. Don't be anxious of the seemingly impossible questions. Start with what you know and save time on them. Don't say because you know them, you now waste time because you want the marker, the examiner, to know that you answer it very well. Give them the specific questions, what they need. When you are to list, don't continue explaining because it carries no mark. If the question says list and move on. If the question says explain and move on. Unless you have time, if a question says explain, then you can first of all list your points and develop it. But if there is no time, just answer the question. And that leads us also to answering question, techniques of answering exams question. If you are to list, if a question says list 5 items or 5 types of so and so, just give the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Marshal your points. That's all. If a question say explain, give explanation. If a question say list and explain, list and explain. So if you are able to be strong enough on the basis, you know yourself enough about your reading style, you are able to practice past questions enough, collaborate with others, and strengthen yourself in time management, assuredly at one's first sitting you should be able to pass SFM. From Gigi's associate Gbenga Olatunji, FCA has been speaking. We are value to life, we are value to your businesses.